Hello and welcome back to another episode of Mystery Red Reads. I am your host, Mystery Red, and this is my disclaimer. This beta read and conquered is at the author's request. This video is for learning purposes. Today we're looking at a piece of original fiction. I am doing a read of Chapter 7 of The Lake of Haunted Memories for, this one's Ladybug. I was getting ready to call her Aunt because I've got two authors I read for that are insects, and I'm just keep waiting to get them mixed up. And I guess I've done it twice now. I almost said, because I'm checking my notes before I got started. Who am I reading for? Okay, this is Ladybug. So let's see. All right. So a quick note: there is a playlist for all of my reads for Ladybug. Actually, each of my authors that have multiple chapters have their own playlists, and there. If you notice, there is no Chapter 6 for The Lake of Haunted Memories. That is because Chapter 6 used to be Chapter 2, and it has been moved into this Chapter 6 spot as part of the revision and some rearranging, and there have been no changes made to it. So I guess, technically, if you looked at my original read of Chapter 2, that would be Chapter 6 now. And on that note, we're going to dive in here in Chapter 7. I'm not going to give a recap. You need to go back. This story is pretty interesting. I think you should check it out. And its evolution is being documented. So there you go. Here we go. Chapter 7, Ruth. Ruth nodded, and a bumper sticker on Carl's pickup truck caught her attention. White letters on an emerald green background. Going to the woods is going home. Had she come across it before? What's that? A quote by John Muir. The first American environmentalist, Carl replied as she climbed into the pickup truck through the rear passenger side door. He attended UW too. I get the importance of nature, but comparing it to home, Ruth said, the reflection you need to discover yourself, you can only find it by spending time alone and fully attuned with your emotions, Carl said. I find nature helps. I'm having a thought. Okay, it's not a big, it's not a big deal. I'm just going to observe it as it's jumping out at me. I'm going to note it. We're going to pick a pretty little blue today. I'm just going to say that we're using the same dialogue tag pretty close in proximity. And we're going to keep going. Let's see. Before Ruth hopped onto the front passenger seat. Oh, good. My voice has cracked. Oh, Lord. I'm going to take a quick sip of tea and try that again. I have a feeling that my voice is going to be all over the place in the coming reads. I'm going to be sniffling, gasping. Winter is just not my friend. And we're only in fall. But the minute that it gets cold here, like we're talking in the 50s, it is now winter in my mind. It'll be 6 months of me struggling to survive. Okay. The reflection you need to discover yourself. You can only find it by spending time alone and fully attuned with your emotions, Carl said. I find nature helps. Before Ruth hopped onto the front passenger seat, she threw one last glance over to where Olivia and Howard Magnuson's car had parked, but it was gone. Anna started the engine. Everyone buckled? Ruth pulled the door closed and fastened the seatbelt, but she couldn't erase from her mind the overwhelming sadness in the man's eyes as he'd coughed and coughed and coughed. What had caused that reaction? Anna backed the pickup truck away from the tree line. Let's hit the road, girls. Hit the road, Jack, Barb sang from the back. And don't you come back no more. Anna and Carl added their voices to the chorus. No more, no more, no more. The pickup reversed direction, advancing forward until it turned onto the blacktop. Hanging from the rearview mirror, a green turtle air freshener swung from side to side as if dancing along. The singing continued, but Ruth couldn't join in. Don't you come back no more. She recognized the old Ray Charles song, but the words instilled an ominous feeling in the pit of her stomach, as if she feared the lyrics could come true. But why did she feel this when they were no longer heading to the haunted lake? Was it because the encounter with the Magnusons had left her melancholy, reminiscing about her own life, the people she had lost and the choices she had made? No. Something else bothered her too. A voice inside urged her to stop the vehicle, get out, and find a way back home. Her mother's house in Raleigh, or the studio apartment in Madison that Ruth rented a month ago. Was the anxious feeling related to Mama, Ruth's only surviving family member? A month had passed since their last conversation. and now they both lived on their own for the first time. Her mother had objected to Ruth's plans of moving to Wisconsin, insisting that an interest in research and being a good swimmer weren't strong enough reasons to want to study water resources management. The sentence is a little bit long. It's not bad. I think it's working. I kind of struggled over reading it a little bit. Her mother had objected to Ruth's plans of moving to Wisconsin, insisting that an interest in research and being a good swimmer weren't strong enough reasons to want to study. Yeah, there's a lot of words here. Okay, so part of when I start to see us have multiple words that connect our sentences, that, and, in, and, to, want, of, okay, those words, when we have a lot of them in a sentence, we probably need to look at the sentence and consider reworking it. Could it be two sentences? Could we use one word that means the same thing as the concept in the within a space? I don't know. We have to look closer at it. Her mother objected to Ruth's plan of moving to Wisconsin, insisting that an interest in research and swimming weren't strong enough reasons to want to. Let's look at our areas that might be causing us a little bit of something. We're not sure right now. I'm going to highlight just for the moment. I might not leave it on there. I just wanted to take a look at the areas where I might want to try to I'm going to say tighten, clean it up. I don't know. It's not sloppy. Okay. So don't think that it's an informative sentence. Strong enough reasons to study water resources management. If we take some of them out or rework them, does our sentence still imply what we want it to imply? Her mother objected to Ruth's plan of moving to Wisconsin, insisting that an interest in research and being a good swimmer weren't strong enough reasons to study water resources management. There's a couple ways you could reword it. Like I'm just omitting had, and her mother objected to Ruth's plan of moving to Wisconsin, period. She insisted that an interest in research and being a good swimmer weren't strong enough reasons to study water resources management. Yeah, okay, so I think what I'm looking at is an opportunity to potentially end the sentence here. And if you do that, it's this line here is a regular sentence. Okay, so you don't have to take the had out if you don't want to. Her mother had objected to Ruth's plan of moving to Wisconsin, period. Or her mother objected to Ruth's plan of moving to Wisconsin. Either one feels interchangeable to me. I'm going to just highlight this little guy right here. Suggest ending this, or ending, I want to say ending the sentence here. Yeah, we're just going to say that. We're not going to overthink it. Starting a new sentence. Okay. All right, we're going to comment that. All right, let's try it again. Her mother objected to Ruth's plan of moving to Wisconsin. She insisted that having an interest in research and being a good swimmer weren't strong enough reasons to study water resources management. I kind of want to omit to want to. And I'm going to remove my highlight off of this because it just helped me kind of zero in on the area. She insisted. I can always see when we are trying to avoid starting, like, of course, this isn't currently a new sentence of its own, but I can see how we often try to avoid starting with she and her and a name, and I or me, the, not me, but you get the idea. Okay, she insisted. I kind of want to tuck having been here, but it's not necessary if you're trying to not add extra words. Right? She insisted that an interest in research and being a good swimmer weren't strong enough reasons to study water resources management. Okay. Yes. Suggest omitting to want. Okay. What kind of job can you even get with that? Mom asked. Mom had asked. Mom asked. Mom had asked. I'm inclined to have mom asked because it's a reflection. You're thinking back. She's thinking back. I think it's probably an opinion. So I'm just going to roll on with that. Ruth didn't know, but she would figure it out when the time came. She'd assumed overprotectiveness and a fear of abandonment at her mother's motivation. But could Mama have sensed impending misfortune would plague Ruth's move to Wisconsin to attend UW? That one's kind of lengthy too. She'd assumed overprotectiveness and a fear of abandonment as her mother's motivation. But could Mama have sensed impending misfortune would plague Ruth's move to Wisconsin to attend UW? Okay, so back here, you mentioned moving to Wisconsin here. So I don't think you have to move it to move it. You don't have to move it. Okay, you don't have to mention it again here. And it would cut 3 words out of the sentence, and you could say just to attend UW. So I'm going to highlight this to kind of, we're going to choose little repetitive, anything repetitive, or we're going to choose this lovely little green color here. And I'm going to put a note on it here that suggests omitting. And that is going to help the length of your sentence, and it also is going to remove the redundancy. So let's try the sentence without it. She'd assumed overprotectiveness and a fear of abandonment as her mother's motivation. But could Mama have sensed impending misfortune would plague Ruth's move to attend UW? You could say move or decision. You know what? You could, suggest swapping move to Wisconsin for decision. Yes. Okay. We're going to try it one more time. She'd assumed overprotectiveness and a fear of abandonment as her mother's motivation, but could Mama have sensed impending misfortune would plague Ruth's decision to attend UW? According to Grandma, the women in her family all had a touch of foresight. The sun shone in Ruth's eyes, and she lowered the visor. Her mother had continued to nag, insisting leaving North Carolina was a mistake, although she'd also taken time off from law school while pregnant and then gone back a few years later. Ruth had no memory of when. She had no memory at all before the age of 6, when she and her mother had moved in with her grandparents, and her phobias and recurring nightmares had begun. That sentence read clean, but you have 3 ands in there. She had no memory at all before the age of 6, when she and her mother had moved in with her grandparents, and her phobias and recurring nightmares had begun. She's recalling her memory, so I don't know if you have to have that had in there. It's probably fine. Here's the thing. You've got, where's our little color? What color did we want to pick? We were looking for repetition in mint green. Let's see. We have had in 3 times in the sentence. And then we have, I can always remove the highlights just for helping us to see and draw our attention to, for quick count, 3 ands. So that's kind of wordy. She had no memory at all before the age of 6. You could end the sentence there and say, that was when she and mother, she calls her mama. She kind of, you could say, you could capitalize it and omit the her and say mother. When she and mother moved in with her grandparents and her phobias and recurring nightmares began. That cleans it up a little bit, I think. I kind of want to look at it written so we can see if it, I don't know. Okay. I kind of want to look at it, but I don't want to. Oh, if I type, then I can always go back and just hit the little delete thing over here for anything that I change. But I kind of want to contrast them. I want to look at both of them. Just for a moment. Where's my new notes? Let's see. She had no memory. How can I make this bigger? Well, she had no memory at all from before the age of 6 when she and her mother had moved in with her grandparents. She had no memory. I would say maybe from before the age of 6. That was when she and mother moved in with, you could say, I guess you could say her grandparents. It's fine. It seems more personal if you call them in grandma and grandpa or something like that. Whatever Ruth calls them. You could almost do a deliberate echo here, and it would actually work if you wanted. But then, I don't know. Fooling with it. That was when she and mother moved in with her grandparents. Her phobias and recurring nightmares began. And her phobias and recurring nightmares began. Okay, guys, I paused it because sometimes we muse over something and it takes a minute, but it's worth it because we figure it out or we like what we come up with. And so here's what we had before. She had no memory at all from before the age of 6 when she and her mother had moved in with her grandparents and her phobias and recurring nightmares had begun. And now we have, she had no memory from before the age of 6. That was when she and mother moved in with her grandparents. During that time, her phobias and recurring nightmares began. So here I wanted to show and I wanted you guys to see what we changed. So we had, I kept this. I felt like sometimes I think I try to avoid the little joining, all the little words that join, and sometimes we need to leave them in. By ending the sentence here, we were free to use more words in the next sentence, keeping more, I guess you could say. She had no memory before the age of 6, period. That was when she and mother moved in with her grandparents, period. During that time, her phobias and recurring nightmares began. So it says the same thing. I just kind of cleaned it up to get rid of some of the extra ands. And yeah, we even kept 2 of the 3, but it still reads cleaner. Let's see, and we did moved in with her grandparents. Mostly I made them into 3 sentences and added during that time to avoid saying and. And did we clean up some of the hads? Because I think we had like 3 hads, 1, 2, but we got them in separate sentences, so it seems better. And we did do away with 1 in this area, right there. And then during that time, Do we have highlight options? So if you're wondering why I'm looking so closely at the sentence, it was a good example of a place to take a long sentence, omit a couple of words here and there, rework it, and have something a little bit cleaner come out of it. I just really liked the example that came out of that, and I thought it was worth taking a look at. I generally use notes when I'm in a hurry, and I'm not super familiar with its features. So if it has highlighting options, I do not know where they are, but I would have liked to have highlighted the differences. I am going to copy this little thing for you and put the suggestion over in here. Oops. I want to remove all that highlight from that and then add a comment. Suggest some rewording as it's just a little bit. There we go. It's an option. I like to have an option. I like to give you guys something and to look at why we changed something. Okay, Ruth's relationship with Mama hadn't recovered, and now a barrier existed between them. A barrier Ruth had a sudden urge to overthrow. After arriving in Madison, she'd emailed her mother and received a reply, but hadn't reached out since. I'm wondering what the reply was. Was she just like, hey, what's up? You're safe. Glad you're safe. Anyway, that was a reader thought. Now guilt and remorse mixed inside her like a generous dash of milk and a cup of coffee. I love that. She took her cell phone from an inner pocket in her canvas knapsack. On the wallpaper photo, Grandma Adora sipped from a gourd of Argentinian mate, with Grandpa Joe standing behind her and Bambi curled at her feet, all three now sadly gone. Ruth unlocked not only the screen, but also a memory of better days and the impression of having left her best times behind and having failed to create a suitable present and future for herself. I'm going to pause again. There's nothing wrong. I just want to go back for another reader musing, which was in all of this. That same sentence we were just looking really hard at gave us a little bit of foreshadowing there as we hope to learn what happened. Why does Ruth not have a memory before the age of 6? Like none at all. So that is also a little foreshadowing. We want to take note that we observed that, and we're going to get back down here. And I lost my spot because I clicked up there. All right, I think we're here. She thumbed in a text message. Mama, sorry I haven't been in touch. Busy but well. Out doing field work. I'll call tomorrow if you're free. She read it over and hit send. The pickup decelerated, and Anna engaged the turn signal. This is the lake access road. To the left, an unpaved offshoot road branched into the woods and offered no signage suggesting where it might lead. Might lead. Lead can be lead. My brain was also thinking back here, she's sending her mom a text message, okay? And I have to wonder, she says, I'll call tomorrow. I'm wondering if something's going to happen to Ruth and she's not going to be able to call tomorrow. So I had a reader musing that distracted me while I was reading this line. When things are reading good, I keep wanting to keep going, and I need to say the thoughts that come up as I experience them. A shiver gave Ruth the impression she wouldn't want to find out. Are you sure? It looks like it's all trees in there. This is where the blue dot is on the map. Anna glanced up. I feel like you could omit that, but I'm going to leave it. But I feel like you could go without it. Anna glanced into the rearview mirror. Anna glanced up into the rearview mirror. It's just very specific. I think it's personal opinion, and it's not worth giving too much of a second thought, so we're going to keep going. The road into Sparkling Lake was much more... Ruth paused and searched for the right word. Welcoming might come across as silly, so she settled on open. It's normal that the vegetation is a little overgrown around pristine lakes, Barb said from the rear seat. It's a good thing since we want to sample a lake for maximal contrast. Sparkling Lake is much bigger and has daily traffic. Carl leaned forward. Why don't we drive a little further until we're certain? Let's not waste any more time. Barb no longer sounded indifferent. How are we going... My brain's stuck. Barb no longer sounded indifferent. So basically, Barb insisted. I'm kind of inclined to suggest you just say Barb insisted. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now I can bring my brain along to the next part that we want to look at. How are we even going to turn here? It's a double line between the two lanes, with a curve right ahead. Carl pointed toward the front. Too dangerous. Just keep on driving, Anna. Vilas County has over 800 unnamed lakes, remember? And another one will come up. No, it won't. Barb leaned forward between the front seats, snatched the cell phone from Anna's hand, and peered at the screen. It's here, all right. Was this the same Barb who had earlier stood aside, twirling her sunglasses? The GPS isn't very precise around here, Carl said. You, for one, should know. Anna glanced up again, disengaged the turn signal, and resumed driving. We need to circle back. Barb's voice rose in pitch and volume. Anna, make a U-turn. The pickup is over 20 feet long, in case you haven't noticed, and we have a 20-foot long canoe on a trailer in the back. Okay, right here, we probably could stop and have start a new sentence. The pickup is over 20 feet long, in case you haven't noticed. Period. Not to mention, we have a 20-foot long canoe on a trailer in the back, Carl said. We'll find another lake. It's just a possibility, an option. I think if I was reading silently, it might be fine. But then you do have two commas and you have an opportunity to start a new sentence, so we probably should. The pickup is over 20 feet long, in case you haven't noticed. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and suggest ending sentence here and starting new sentence. Not to mention, we have a 20... Okay. We'll find another lake. Right there, look. Barb pointed outside the window, where the left lane swelled into a shoulder triple the original width. Is that lucky or what? Anna flipped the blinker on again and completed the U-turn. The phone in Ruth's hand beeped, a green rectangle displaying her mother's reply. Ruthie, great to hear from you. Call. I'll be waiting. Love and miss you. Somewhat unburdened, knowing her mother was fine, Ruth unlocked the screen again and typed another reply. Love and miss you too. She needed to make this move to Wisconsin work. She needed to finish the program and prove to her mother, I'm wondering as I read. She needed to make this move to Wisconsin work. She needed to finish this program and prove to her mother, if not herself, she'd made a good choice. Okay, I'm going to observe that I, reading out loud, although I do not think there'd be any issue reading to myself silently, that she needed to make this move to Wisconsin work. I had a WW sound, and I think that kind of tripped me up, but there's nothing I would change about this. That is just, I'm observing why I stuttered. Like you all, when I slow down, it's because I'm usually thinking multiple things at once, and so I want to explain to you there's nothing wrong, and that is why. And then we had sh sounds. We had she needed to finish. So my brain my mouth and my brain were just not getting along together. So there we go. That's what happened there. We're going to keep rolling. There is nothing to change, okay? Ruth needed to right her own wrongs, despite her limitations, despite all the phobias that had ruled and ruined her life. I wonder, do we do that? I don't know if I've seen that. I'm going to leave that to you. As she had often admonished herself, it was time to grow up and overcome her challenges. The dirt road made an encore appearance, now on the right-hand side. Anna signaled and turned, the tires thumping violently from the blacktop down onto the packed dirt. Grass lined both sides of the road. Untended, it grew taller until it transitioned to canes of arching brambles, interwoven with shrubs. Fruit resembling white cherries dangled farther back. Trees towered like encircling walls, their tallest branches bending toward the road, some of them gnarled and pointing like sharp claws. Ahead, the path curved like a slithering brown snake, its head buried in a horizon of trees, more trees, and only trees. They shouldn't have turned onto this dirt road. Turn around, go back, the voice inside her mind said. She wanted to repeat it aloud, but the girls would laugh at her. After all, was this not the life she'd signed up for when she had defied her mother's advice? Pre-science, a chosen... Oh, there's a question mark again. and chosen to pursue lake research. I'm contemplating. Has anyone researched punctuation before the end of a sentence? I bet Crystal Committee might know. Well, Cece, will you answer that in the comment if you know the answer? Ruth had even accepted. Also, thank you. I'm like, you probably know the answer. If you do, can you share with all of us? Ruth had even accepted an offer of supervision from Dr. Loha to write a thesis on the food chain of the omnivorous red swamp crawfish, an invasive species from the Gulf Coast, and a southern transplant like herself. The farther they traveled, the more tree limbs extended toward the path. Some banged on the pickup roof, as if knocking to warn the girls against advancing farther. Soon, branches from different trees on both sides of the road met, touched, and entangled to form a green roof, a tunnel of sorts. Okay. I feel like we just had the word roof. Yep, there it is. Okay. Ceiling maybe might be. Some banged on the pickup roof, as if knocking the words. Okay. Soon, branches from different trees on both sides of the road met, touched, and entangled to form a green canopy, maybe? Suggest canopy. Oh, parentheses. Suggest canopy to eliminate word echo on roof. Okay? Nice. I like it when it's an easy fix. Up above, leaves shaped like bat wings. Weaved? Oops. Okay, hang on. We'll fix it. Wove together? Okay, let's try that. Up above, leaves shaped like bat wings wove together in a tapestry that blocked all natural light. Despite her claustrophobia, Ruth rolled up her window, afraid something could crawl in. She gazed back through the rear windshield, longingly seeking the highway, where at least the sky had shone unimpeded, but the dirt path had curved and given way to a curtain of trees that blocked the main road from view. Wow, okay. I'm getting the visual and the breaks. It's long. She gazed back through the rear windshield. Okay, longingly felt like an afterthought based on where the comma was here. But I get that I get what she's doing. I get the visual with it. She gazed back through the rear windshield, longingly seeking the highway. Because I get the sensation too. What if I toyed with this for a second and we considered putting the comma here? She gazed back through the rear windshield. Do we need to say that she gazed back if we have rear windshield? Because doesn't that imply it's in the back? That's a question. That's a thought. I'm thinking maybe. She gazed through the rear windshield longingly, seeking the highway where at least the sky had shone unimpeded. But the dirt path had curved and given way to a curtain of trees blocking the main road from view. Yeah, we could tweak this just a little bit. A couple of suggestions here and there. For it to be slightly less wordy. And I kind of wanted that comma in a different place. I'm going to play with this for a second. Let's see. Okay, I paused and I went and opened Microsoft Word so that I could get the highlighting feature that I wanted. So this is the original sentence. She backed through the rear windshield, longingly seeking the highway where at least the sky had shone unimpeded, but the dirt path had curved and given way to a curtain of trees that blocked the main road from view. So my goal was to make this an active sentence and to trim up some of the words, and I really wanted the comma to be in a different place. So I just played with it just a little bit. It still says the same thing, just in a different way. She gazed through the rear windshield longingly, seeking the highway where at least the sky had shone unimpeded. Instead, the dirt path had curved, given way to a curtain of trees blocking the main road from view. It's just a little bit less wordy. You can always pause and look at the changes closely and compare the two. I think that might be, if I do this every now and then, it'll give us examples so we can see before and after, and we can study what was changed and kind of consider why. Now, one thing I do flip-flop on is the movement of that comma, because I think our author wanted the sensation of longing as Ruth peered through the windshield. So, and it did do that when it's in the place that she put it, longingly seeking the highway. It is an adverb, longingly, to the seeking, okay? Because it's being specific about how she felt as she was seeking the highway. She wished she was going back the other direction. The sensation is clear and felt. So, but I'm going to stick by this little, I really like this, and it's going to be my suggestion. And I'm going to take the highlight off and I'm going to add it as a note, and then I'm going to continue reading. So I'm just going to do that really quick. I don't want to have the highlight on it when I copy it. And then I'm just going to minimize this little window here and come back over to my Word doc, my Google Doc, add a note, suggest slight rewording. Okay, I have a small heater running in the background, and I hope it's not horribly loud. I'm going to turn it off just in case. Okay. Turn around, go back, the mysterious voice inside her mind continued to say. Everything all right? Carl asked. It's like entering a jungle, claustrophobic, Ruth wanted to say, but naming another one of her fears aloud would equate to conjuring a demon. Shouldn't we see the lake by now? It's coming up, Barb said. Give it another minute. Okay, pausing. As a reader musing, has Barb been here before? She's so confident, but it's like fake confidence in my opinion, because I'm a little familiar with Barb at this point. I'm like, I feel like she just wants what she wants. She's not thinking through the consequences. She's not thinking what might happen. She's not trying to buy into any of this stuff. She just has a goal, and that's all there is. And she wants nothing in her way between her and the goal. And I'm just like, kind of like, with things she's saying. Have you been here before, Barb? Probably not, because you're still alive, right? Right? Okay. Sorry. I don't like this either, Carl said, but one thing you'll find out pretty soon, if you haven't already, is that Barb won't quit until she gets her way. If we turn around, she'll pester us all the way back to Madison, and that's almost a 4-hour drive. Barb sighed and shook her head. This is what I get for having an opinion. Carl thinks being black entitles her to insult people without repercussion. Trust me, sweetie, if I wanted to insult you, you'd be crying right now. Barb scoffed and turned toward the passenger side window. Ruth restrained a smile for as long as she could, which was not very long. Anna glanced at Ruth and released a chuckle. Barb and Carl are secretly in love with each other. Sometimes I think Barb only got married so people wouldn't suspect. Just for the record, Barb isn't my type, Carl said, now also gazing out the window. Okay. When she turned her head out the window, are they both gazing? And I'm wanting to know, because we have window and window. I'm wondering about having the repetitive, but I also kind of like how you used it, so I'm going to leave it, because you have both of them, doing the same action. I kind of am imagining them being disgruntled in opposite directions, so I kind of enjoy it, and we're going to roll with it. And you're not even the same gender as my type, Barb said, her face flushed. So you say, Barb. Anna smirked into the rear view mirror. Abandon all hope, ye who bicker, Barb said. Not going to happen. Now enough with the jokes, Anna, and focus on the driving. I think I'd omit the and just say focus on the driving. Oh, focus on the driving. Why am I suddenly doing that? It was tracking last week, and now this week it's actually changing things. I need to learn more about Google Docs, I suppose. I'm going to try to read it one more time without the and see what you think. Abandon all hope, ye who bicker, Barb said. Not going to happen. Now enough with the jokes, Anna. Focus on the driving. The foliage grew thicker and the passage narrowed further, the pickup having to fight its way down the path. Ruth returned the cell phone to her knapsack, afraid it would slip from her fingers and get lost, because if something happened, the device might end up being a lifeline. Oh, foreshadowing. Foreshadowing. Also, that's a bit of a long sentence. We could probably look for an opportunity to make it two. Ruth returned the cell phone to her knapsack, afraid it would slip from her fingers and get lost. If something happened, the device might end up being a lifeline. So, yeah, right here you could suggest ending sentence here and starting new one. Okay. Suggest omitting because, and then it'll be starting new sentence with, my voice cracked again, if. There you go. I hope we're almost there, or is this going to ruin my truck suspension? Or this is going to. Okay. I hope we're almost there, or this is going to ruin my truck's suspension. I hope we're almost there, or this is going to ruin my truck's suspension, Carl said. Occasional tufts of grass now sprouted in patches in the middle of the road. The entire vehicle rattled, and the turtle air freshener convulsed against the windshield. Ruth couldn't resist the urge to hold it. Plants scraped against the side mirrors and panels. Oh my gosh. So like now her truck is getting completely beat up. I love the turtle air freshener detail, by the way. I'm totally enjoying him dangling around on this ride. This will ruin the paint job, anguish spiked Carl's voice. She's tearing up her truck. Oh my gosh. I'm doing my best to avoid the branches, Anna white-knuckled the steering wheel. Something splattered on the windshield and slid halfway down, leaving an oozy trail, one of the whitish fruit. I guess fruit would be fruits. Should it be fruits is plural? Could be fruits. Could it be fruits? Fruits? I'm not sure, so I'm putting a question mark next to my own comment. I kind of wanted it to be fruits. Something splattered on the windshield and slid halfway down, leaving an oozy trail, one of the whitish fruits. One side showed a dark round spot not visible on the side. Oh, we have side and side. Hang on. Let's read it through and then we'll look closer. One side showed a dark round spot not visible on the side, still attached to the bramble. One side showed a dark round spot not visible. Okay, I'm trying to visualize this. I'm like, okay. One side showed a dark round spot not visible on the side still attached to the bramble. How do you know if how is it showing it if you can't see it? I'm confused. Okay. I'm unsure of this sentence. I'm just unsure. I'm not. I guess the visual maybe of the visual. Wait, visual in this sentence. Also, there is a word echo on side. Okay. I'm having trouble. I'm just having trouble. I'm gonna keep going. I'm not gonna linger too long on trying to understand a visual unless it becomes relevant here in a sentence or two. And in the meantime, I think it's just lending to the chaos that's starting to happen on the outside of the truck. Often when I'm reading novels and in all of the novels I've read, because I read so much growing up, but whenever there would be a scene with action and I would get lost in the action, like if there was a sentence that I just could not get the visual for, I would just skip it and keep going. So even published works have lines where I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and try to figure out what is happening here. Sometimes when I'm watching fight scenes in movies and they either go on too long or there's too much happening or the lighting on the fight scene is really dark, I just won't bother. Like I'm just waiting for it to end, because if you can't see what's happening and it's just dark shadows, slamming bodies everywhere, it's not lending anything to the story for me. So anyway, musings, all musings. It resembled an eyeball. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now how big are these fruit? Wait. Okay, I was imagining like little berries, like tiny little holly berries, but they were white. I feel like I need to go back and look at the berries again and be like, how big were they? Are they as big as eyeballs? Are they as big as eyeballs? Okay, what's like a quarter? I mean, it's about the size of a quarter, a $half. I'm tempted. I'm tempted. Where, because the fruit was mentioned back. And I'm kind of wondering now. I'm going to keep going, but just amusing for my author. I'm now wanting to scroll back and look and see how big the fruit was. Did you describe how big the fruit was? Because I suddenly have a different visual, because here it says it resembled an eyeball. So now I'm imagining the fruit being much bigger than what I had imagined in my mind. I don't know. But I do love the visual. I loved it. Okay. It resembled an eyeball. Oddly, the bramble didn't reach as high as the roof of the pickup, so unless the same fruit, or one very similar, existed up on the tree canopy, it would have had to either jump or ascend somehow. Whoa. Okay. Oddly, the bramble didn't reach as high as the roof of the pickup, so unless that same fruit, or one very similar, existed up on the tree canopy, it would have had to either jump or ascend somehow. Okay. You're kind of entering, I kind of consider this an action scene, because it's not like an action in the sense of a fight scene. It's an action in the sense of character, plot is developing, character moving. No, it's, they're moving and they're headed for the lake. So its action is in there moving. But there's a build in the story. So when you have movement, I tend to keep the sentences a little tighter and a little shorter. Oddly, the bramble didn't reach as high as the roof of the pickup. So this will be our third mention of the roof of the pickup. We might even have exact words, roof of the pickup. So here we have green roof, and here we have pickup roof. And so here's our third mentioning of the roof. I know that's frustrating. I'm sorry. Oddly, the bramble didn't reach as high as the roof of the pickup. Now, I think in the prior one, I had keep the first roof, and then the second one, I had a word swap suggestion. I think I did. Oddly, the bramble didn't reach as high as the ceiling of the pickup. The ceiling, maybe? What did we do on the last one? Because I hate to tell you the same thing twice. Canopy, okay. And the first one is roof, because you keep the original. So maybe the ceiling. Ceiling? Just to eliminate the word echo. Okay. Oddly, the bramble didn't reach as high as the ceiling of the pickup. So unless the same fruit, or one very similar, existed up on the tree canopy, it would have had to either jump or ascend somehow. Now, it's a long sentence. What can we do about that? I think the words would have had are something that I would like to toy with and see if we can reword it so that it's slightly less wordy. And word. It resembled an eyeball. Oddly, the bramble didn't reach as high as the ceiling of the pickup. So unless that same fruit, or one very similar, existed on the tree canopy. So you got up on the... All right, we're going to toy with this one for a second. Just a minute. Okay, so we started with, oddly, the bramble didn't reach as high as the roof of the pickup. So unless that same fruit, or one very similar, existed up on the tree canopy, it would have had to either jump or ascend somehow. And here I'm having the suggestion, oddly, the bramble didn't reach as high as the ceiling of the pickup. So unless that same fruit, or one very similar, existed in the tree canopy, it would have either had to jump or ascend. So I omitted somehow, just for kind of cleaning it up. There's nothing to highlight down here because it's not there anymore. I swapped out ceiling so we don't have 3 roofs. And even though you would have, that prior one, the second one, we had already had a different suggestion for. So unless that same fruit or one very similar existed in the tree canopy, because here we have up on the tree canopy. Now, up, on, but you have a tree canopy. So tree canopies are above you anyway. So I kind of felt like we didn't need to have up on if you're saying it's in the tree canopy, because that is up by nature, canopy being above us. It would have had, okay, so you had would have, and I changed it, or I'm suggesting you change it to would have. And then I just kind of rearranged the either had to jump or ascend, had to either jump or ascend. So either one is probably fine interchangeably. So just a few changes there, but the line is we've taken out a little bit, made it a little bit tighter. Mostly we're trimming up these are the words we're playing with. So it still says the same thing, just in a slightly different way. I'm going to remove the highlight and add it as a note. I think it's much less boring for you guys if I do this rather than sitting here rambling the way I do. Let's see. Where did it go? Where did my line go? Here we are. Suggest. And although I guess sometimes when I muse it out, we figure out how I got there. Where did this information come from? How did you arrive at that? That's kind of part of what this is. That looks gross. Anna activated the wipers, which only smeared the slimy substance more widely and made a bigger mess. I would omit widely. I would omit widely. Suggest omitting widely. Okay, because she's got smeared the substance more. So we have more. You don't need widely. Okay. Anna activated the wipers, which only smeared the slimy substance and made a bigger mess. Crap, I can't see anything now. Neither could Ruth. She braced herself. Are you sure we're heading toward a lake? Jets of fluid couldn't clean the windshield and added to the growing mess. Anna ran the wipers again. In the darkened vehicle traveling through the confined passage, Ruth was having trouble breathing. She closed her eyes and fantasized she was home and her grandparents and Bambi were still alive and they were all barbecuing in the backyard. Okay. First, I want to be like, are they still driving forward? Because if you can't see, you kind of need to hit the brakes at this point. So I'm kind of here we go. Here's Carl. Maybe we should stop. Okay, I'm with Carl on this one. Really quick, let's take a look at this line right here. She closed her eyes and fantasized she was home and her grandparents and Bambi were still alive and they were all barbecuing in the backyard. So we've got like 1, 2, 3, 4 ands in this sentence. So I think this is one we should probably look at. So let's stop for a second and do that. Okay. So I kind of fooled with it just a little bit. We started with, she closed her eyes and fantasized she was home and her grandparents and Bambi were still alive and they were all barbecuing in the backyard. And my suggestion is she closed her eyes wishing she was home, that her grandparents and Bambi were still alive, having a barbecue in the backyard. Now, Bambi's a dog, and it was Ruth's dog. And I know that from, the prior chapters that we've read. But for whatever reason, whenever I read Bambi, deer pops into my mind. And then when I read barbecue, I'm thinking, are we barbecuing Bambi? That is my brain. That is what popped up. That I cannot, I immediately rationalized and self-explained, no, Bambi's the dog. That was her dog. They're not cooking her. They're having a barbecue, and that's a happy place in Ruth's mind. So I have gone through this mental process. I'm just going to say that that is where my brain went. I'm going to admit it. And I'm a vegetarian, so it's not like I'm into eating meat in any way, shape, or form. But when we think barbecue, we think meat. And then, I can see how my brain arrived at that bizarreness. But anyway, let's look closer at what I changed. So we had 4 ands in here, and we are looking to reduce them. So we have she closed her eyes, and you have fantasized, which is, imagined, would be another word that would work. And there's nothing wrong with fantasized, except that fantasies to me are not real. And yes, this is a memory, but this is something that it seems like she's calling up a memory, which would not be a fantasy to me. To me, a fantasy would be something that's not realistically possible. Whereas, and this isn't because these people are dead. But anyway, I want my brain to go down the path that the author wants it to go down. And where you were trying to take me was that she is imagining or wishing or something that she's home, and that, that her life was like it was when it was a little more comfortable and a little safer. She wants her grandparents. She wants her dog. She just wants to be home doing something happy with her family. Okay. So I got the impression you wanted, through my own reasoning, and the words that you gave me, to not give me room to go down any side roads that cause things like thinking of Bambi and are we cooking the dog with the barbecue in the backyard, with the association of Bambi being associated with deer. Okay. So I kind of don't want my brain to have the opportunity to go anywhere but where you wanted it to go. And so part of my musings is for me to say, hey, this was the process, the path my brain followed. Why did it follow this path? What is the reasoning in the combination of words that it pulled up this visual and it didn't quite match the one that you wanted? And that's why this is important. So this sentence turned out to lend something else to us that we needed to consider, is our word choice and where it takes the reader's mind. Now, my little brain is a neurodivergent one. We've talked about that a couple times. So I don't exactly process everything exactly the way the majority of people do. I just don't. It's been a very clear thing to me throughout my life that I do not think exactly the way others think, and not everyone thinks the same way, of course, but the majority of people do follow a path, the way our brain associates certain words with certain feelings. So, all that said, we're going to go with this as our little suggestion. I'm going to remove the highlight from it, and we're going to add it as a note, and we're going to keep rolling. Okay, so we're over here, and I'm just going to click back in my document and add my little note. Suggest rewording. All right, and get in here and comment. Maybe we should stop for a while, Carl said. Carl, girl, I agree. Ruth hoped no one would ask her to get out of the vehicle here in the middle of this jungle to help with the windshield. No way. You can say no way she would do it, but I kind of just wanted to be like, no way, not happening. Okay, no way at all. All right. You could omit this and just say no way, period. No way at all. Not happening. Got it. I'm gonna leave it, but you could if you wanted to. I don't know our word count situation, so if you're right where you want to be, you can leave it. It can be your preference because your voice tends to be very clear. You do have would twice in the sentence, so if that helps you to decide whether or not you would keep it, the easy solution would be no way, period. Let it be a statement. All right. And I'm going to read it both ways just to help you make your final choice. Ruth hoped no one would ask her to get out of the vehicle here in the middle of this jungle to help with the windshield. No way she would do it. No way at all. And now I'm going to read it the other way. Ruth hoped no one would ask her to get out of the vehicle here in the middle of this jungle to help with the windshield. No way. No way at all. So there you have it both ways. You can decide. It would also eliminate your echo on the word would, and we're going to roll on. Thankfully, no one asked. Ruth wiped her clammy palms on the sides of her jeans. Why hadn't they reached the lake yet? Another whitish fruit landed on the windshield. It must have startled Anna because the vehicle jolted forward. The front dipped and sunk with a loud thump. Anna's hands scrambled over the steering wheel, which turned on its own. Ruth reached for it, but the pickup rocked and projected her against the passenger side door. It smashed against her shoulder blade. "Steer right, Anna," Carl shouted from the back. "Don't hit the brake." The vehicle veered left and nearly tilted. The canoe trailer crashed into the rear. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. If they tear up this truck, they have no way out. No way out. And something tells me that if they check and see if they have reception, they don't. I'm guaranteeing you they don't. We're going to keep going. "Anna, slow down," Carl shouted. By the way, great job writing that action. Great job. "Anna, slow down," Carl shouted. "You told me to hit the gas." "No, I didn't. I told you not to brake. It's different." "Sheesh, what did I do?" Anna shouted. At last they broke free of the tunnel, but tall grass whooshed by the windows. From the back, Carl shouted instructions Anna couldn't follow, and neither could Ruth. Gaps in the gooey residue on the windshield revealed flashes of the lake ahead. Instead of glimmering like sparkling lake, it had a dark surface like a giant bowl of broth, and the broth looked menacing, as if it threatened to burn them or boil them alive. Ruth wanted to laugh at her comparison, but she shuddered and caught herself grinding her teeth. I kind of wonder if there's like a color. Okay, so oh, you know what? You could add a color right before the word broth. Like, is it kind of a muddy color? Is it clay? Is it, gray? Is it red? What? Kind of give it a color to go with your visual, because I like I like comparing it to broth, but I'd like to know a color. Maybe tuck a color in right here before the first, before broth, if I could type appropriately. And the broth looked menacing. Okay. So I want to observe that, yes, there is broth and broth, but the way that you're using it is correct. And so it's intentional, and therefore we're going to keep going. The pickup continued on its course, both Barb and Carl shouting from the back. The lake was closing in fast, and unless the vehicle stopped now, it would careen into the water. A vivid image came to Ruth of the pickup plunging into the lake and sinking to the bottom with all four of them trapped inside, unable to open the doors under the pressure of the water column. Ruth would roll down the window only to find her seatbelt stuck. With no alternative, she would watch while brothy lake water flooded the cab and both drowned them and boiled them alive. Oh, you know what? So that's the third mention of the word broth, and I know we want to kind of like use the broth thing. The first time I think it was okay. You could call it soupy, and that would still be associated with broth. Oh, that is not what I meant to do. Okay. All right. Soupy. The suggestion, maybe? That would resolve that. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it just so you can see and we don't go too many times. I think the first one being intentional, and I see you're still continuing to play on it. We want to use the play on it, but we want it to be kind of subtle. Her body trembled. Don't say with terror. That's telling. We're just showing around here. Suggest omitting with terror. The trembling implies the terror, so you don't need to tell. She didn't want to die this way. This way, that way, that way. All right, and then we move on to chapter 8. So I'm going to wrap up here, and I'll see you guys for the next video that I do on chapter 8. Thank you guys for joining me on Mystery Red Reads. Ladybug, I almost called you Ant. Oh my gosh, twice in one video. I gotta get my bugs straight, you guys. I gotta get my bugs straight. Ladybug, thank you for trusting me with your words. I'm totally enjoying the story, and I'm caught up in the action. And I'm gonna go now so I can get on over to chapter 8 and see what happens next. See you guys next time.